Hi, everybody. Welcome to NLL Lacrosse Talk. I'm Gary Groob. Frank Stanisci is out this evening. He is busy doing Legion things, so hopefully he has a chance to join us, but if not, we'll see him next week. Anyways, my guest this week is former NLL player, Drew Candid. Drew, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I loved watching you. I loved your style of playing, all the years of little things like that. First question we always ask everybody is, how did you get started in lacrosse?
So I started out in London playing soccer, and I just wasn't taken to it, but there was nothing else going on. And obviously a Canadian boy, I was playing hockey as well. And, a guy that I played hockey with said, come try lacrosse for the summer. I was 11 years old at the time. He says, come try lacrosse. It's a great sport. And I went out, and that was it. I was hooked.
Right. What made you keep going in lacrosse?
It was just something that came to me easy, that I enjoyed. I enjoy the physicality of lacrosse, obviously. And it just came easy to me. It was something that I picked up, and I just started getting better and better as the years went on, and I just followed it and loved it.
Right. Now, we all have somebody who we model our game after. When you were young, who really did you look up to? Because, again, it's a lot different than now. It wasn't as mainstream as it is.
So the guy that brought me into lacrosse from hockey there, he was pretty good at it. I kind of looked up to him because he was scoring 5-6 goals a game, and he had posters of Gary Gait on his wall, and that's when I was introduced to Gary and Paul Gait. So from there, that was who I looked up to.
Right. Now, starting out, and you're getting to play. Who helped you shape your game, coaching wise, or other players, or what really was the thing that really helped you start figuring out this game?
I'd have to say a big part of that was Paul Suggett. He was my coach in Junior A lacrosse when they drafted me to Mississauga there, and he was my coach for 4 years in Mississauga, and he was amazing. He was exactly what I needed to improve my game, and he got me to where I got today. Right.
Let's talk a little bit more about that Mississauga team, because you take a look at some of the players that came through, and now, of course, they've merged into Mimico. But you look into John Tavares, Peter Tavares, Anthony Cosmo, Jeff Shatler, yourself, Corey Lee, John Rosa, Rob. The list goes on and on. Ted Dowling, Neil Doddridge. It's wild when you look at all the names that went through that are elite in lacrosse. And that program itself.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I guess I just got lucky and was drafted there and out of nowhere, because I didn't even know there was a draft. And all of a sudden, I was drafted, and the guys in the organization, people in the organization, were amazing to me in Mississauga, and that's what built it. So I guess being in Mississauga, that was and the history, the guys that went through there kind of helped mold me into the person or the player I was.
Right. And again, let's say it molded into Mimico, which is also a storied place to play still to this day.
Yeah.
I love going to that barn.
Yeah. I'd never been to the Mimico because it was Junior B. Are they Junior B still, or?
No, they're Junior A.
They're Junior A now.
There's a Junior B team there too, because
they were Junior B for a while and kind of took over Mississauga. So I'll be out watching a lot more Junior A games this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit also, because Noah went first in the draft. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, I was pretty proud of him, and then I have another nephew also that's trying out right now for Brampton, and also the Beaches. So hopefully they both get on a team. We can watch them play each other. So that'd be fun.
Which means we're going to run into each other in a lot of arenas.
Yeah, we usually do.
Yep, definitely.
In different countries, so.
Yeah, again, we're gonna talk about that too because I'm on a plane in 2 days to the Rebeski tournament. Again,
Uh, I'm gonna miss that this year. That's
that's
that's one of that's one of my favorite tournaments to play in, and it's just sad that I can't make it this year. Can't make it work.
it's funny because I had the commissioner of NBLL on the show a couple of weeks ago, and him and the guy from Good Stick Company as well, Whitmer, and we're talking about just a regular season. They have 80 games in a regular season that runs
Wow.
about 6 months. I never realized it. Like, of course, you see Radisson and you see some of the other teams from the area.
Yep.
80 games, that's insane,
That's
especially out there because the weather can't be that cooperative.
no, and it's that outdoor box. All those games are played there.
Most of
Yeah,
them are.
that's
There are a few in surrounding areas. They also have expanded now into Germany and a few other countries, and then they all kind of mesh for it. It's really pretty elaborate.
that's amazing. I remember the Czech teams playing in that tournament, and they're really good. They got really good talent there in Czech and some of the other countries around there. So an amazing tournament to play in.
Yeah, I reckon it to really to hockey, and if North America isn't careful, we rest on our laurels saying we're the best,
Yeah,
and just like hockey, and you watch Finland and Austria and everybody else, and before you know it, we're watching them raise trophies. It's like how'd that happen?
catching
But
up slowly. Yeah,
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 and
yeah.
you
That's
watch it
same
in
in
your
lacrosse.
Rebeski.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
even in your Rebeski tournament, watch it year after year, and the level of cross is, it's
It's
ridiculously high.
Yeah, I remember the first tournament I played in there was had to be 6 years ago now, and then to go back 2 years or 3 years later after COVID, and I could tell the difference in play there, the style and the difference. It's changed quite a bit already in that little amount of time.
Right. And now again with Brian Whitmer, former American guy, but
Yeah,
he's helped them out immensely by putting a stick manufacturing thing a couple of blocks away from that arena, and
yeah,
instead of having to pay exorbitant prices for shipping, international shipping for sticks,
yeah,
a couple of blocks away, and you can go pick up a head to your stick, and away you go. So he's done immense things. He's also started making women's sticks now because that program, just like here, is starting to elevate.
yeah. He's doing a lot for the game of lacrosse for sure around there. I mean, he's been there every year for how many years now? Is it 25 or 30 years now?
Yeah,
Well, that term.
that term is
So
30 years. This year's is 30th. Would have been 32 except for COVID, right? But
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Excuse me.
and every year there's just a little bit more added to it, and for everybody else too, because when that place fills up when the home teams are playing, that's a pretty wild place in 2,000
It's
people.
under the lights and with all those people there just cheering on the Czech teams. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing to see and fun to watch for sure.
Mm-hmm. Just it's also like to see guys like you and a number of other guys who are former NLLers or guys who are on practice squads who are coming out for this, and it's a who's who out there of present and former and some future lacrosse stars out there. So really, it's wild. You're sitting there pouring a beer, and all of a sudden it's like, well,
Yeah. It's nice to see some of the guys that I haven't seen in a while out in different countries. Is pretty amazing. So yeah, that's a lot of fun to see all the guys.
yeah, and it grows every year, and the YouTube and everything like that. So everybody here can actually catch games if they want to watch 5-6 hours and in the distance.
Yeah, I definitely tune into a couple of the teams that I played on. I played for the Mega Men and then the Res Dogs the one year, so I definitely would cheer for them when they're playing. Oh, sorry. Cheer for them when they're playing and hope
Right.
they do well. So,
Well, the Mega Men are actually in our division with the
oh
Gales.
yeah,
So I think they face the Gales first night, last game of the day.
nice.
So
Yeah.
that'll put you about 2 a.m. here.
Ooh, I
Well,
think I
actually,
watched a
it's
repeat
the
on
other way
that one.
around, right? They're 6 hours ahead or whatever. So that'll put you 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So
Yeah, that'll be all right.
not too bad. Now, life of a tough guy.
Hmm.
You fit the mold of most every guy I know who is enforcer kind of idea. Very very soft spoken, very very well spoken until you get on the floor, and then it turns. How do you draw that energy, game in game out? Because you got to be beaten up, especially in a long season.
It does take a toll on you, and seeing some of these other big guys coming out there that you look down the list and see who's on their team, and you're like, oh no, it's gonna be a rough night. But no, I mean, it's something you just got to do to play in the league, right? And that's what I was there for, and that's what I was good at. So, I mean, you just turn it on, you do, and I mean, some of the times I when you're fighting your friends and stuff like that, it kind of took me a little bit, and I would say that I would wait till to get the first, let them get the first punch in, and then that's when it started. That's when you get angry.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't that Mike Tyson? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Yeah.
Exactly.
I often ask this question: what advice would you give a young Drew Candy if you had a chance to get a hold of yourself now, with your experience?
Just take it all in. Time goes so fast, and the stuff you get to do and the stuff you get to see, just take it all in, and kind of bookmark it, and try to remember all these things you did, because I've traveled a lot and played in a lot of cool cities and countries for lacrosse. It's just slow down and take it in.
Right. I want to talk a bit about your NLL career, because you have quite a storied career through the 8 or 10 years that you were in there. You get drafted to Toronto right away. You're in with this juggernaut that they put together in the late '90s, and you're in with guys like Colin Doyle. You're in with Jim Veltman. You're in with Bob Watson, and all these guys around there, and Les Bartley as a coach. Talk about coming into the room. One of my favorite questions overall is always first training camp. Was it what you envisioned?
That was a long time ago. So I vaguely remember it's first training camp. I believe and the best part, it was in Maple Leaf Gardens.
Mm-hmm.
So going into Maple Leaf Gardens and seeing guys that you saw on TV the year before raise the cup, that was my 2000 year when I signed as a practice player, was wild. But it was crazy because they all took me in right away and took me under the wing. Every one of them helped me out and immensely, from the Pat Coyles to the Colin Doyles, and it was amazing. I was taken back for sure.
Right. And being associated with those teams, your name is still synonymous with these things, because you come into Toronto playing these some of these the All-Star games,
yeah.
for lack of a better term, but you're still revered. I love listening to the ovations for of course you're going to get it for Colin, for Whipper and guys like that, but guys like you who are the meat and potatoes guys, the guys who did the digging and the work so these guys could do the scores. You guys are still revered as well, and I love that about this game especially. And you guys, all the work you put in didn't go to just kind of floating out in the distance.
Exactly. It's nice to be able to go there and be remembered by some people, and to get the applause because I put my heart and soul out there and left it out like everybody else does on the floor. So it's really nice to go back to these cities and Toronto and Buffalo and be recognized. It's pretty amazing.
Right. Now you had a chance to play for Bartley. What was it like having him as your coach?
It was pretty intense. He was a brilliant mind. He was a brilliant lacrosse mind, and it was I guess you could say he was ahead of his time for sure. It was he was pretty intense, and it was pretty amazing. And Ed Como was there, and Jammer was there as well. So all three of them together were just something else. You watch them in a room, and it was going over lacrosse stuff, and it was great lacrosse minds for sure. Right.
Now, if you ever get the itch to want to watch retro games, I inherited Bill Fox's collection back before the COVID years, and I have about 80 or 90 VHS tapes and discs and things like that. I've got some Shamrocks games. I got a ton of Rock and Bandits games that go all the way back. Bandits all the way back to their start in '92. Yeah. And I've got about 30 or 40 of them up on All Lacrosse all the time on the YouTube page. So feel free.
I'm gonna have to check a few out, because there's a few that I don't remember some of the games that I'll have to go back and look at.
I love that a lot of it he's got like from Sportsnet, so you get the commercials too, and some of the era commercials, and Joe Bowen making the calls, and Rob Foles making the calls in these games, and it just brings you right back, and it's pretty amazing to see some of these things. I think one of the games Kim Squire had 5 goals in it, and we're talking to him about it, and yeah, it's pretty amazing to see, and the styles,
Yeah.
from then to where it is now, especially when you look at some of the mill games, right?
Mhm.
Stuff that would be maybe a change of possession back then, maybe. It's probably a 5-game suspension now.
That's why it was fun to play back in the day. Now it's got a lot quicker, and it's a lot faster game, really. If you look at the game now than where it used to be. I mean, it was fast back in the day for sure. But it was just, it seems like the hits were harder back then, and the fights were tougher, and you know what I mean. It just seems like it's the game sped up quite a bit now.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking to a lot of the legends, guys like Dave Durrani and Johnny Davis, and they're talking about things that slowed up the game because now we have specialized players, so you don't see the transition thing, and guys are really racing back and forth, playing both ways. The only time I've seen it over the last little while is Six Nations actually pulled it out in the last Man Cup of
Yep.
actually playing lines just to bring it back because they had so much talent on that team they could pull it off. But nowadays we don't see it because it's pull up, wait for the offense, come back, and Doddridge was a big guy, a big proponent of that. Going, Jesus, if only we could watch things go back and forth like we used to.
Yeah, yeah. That's how I got started. Was back and forth lacrosse, right? It's playing offense and defense, and then getting off.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's like I said, that's how I learned. And back in the day, I scored a few goals that way.
Right. Well, Johnny Davis used to say he would take a penalty in a game just so he could get 2 minutes to sit down somewhere.
I just did it for fun.
You win the championship in 2002 with this group, and that's after 2001 of the Philadelphia the game that shocked the world, really, because that game was supposed to be a lock for Toronto. And talking to a couple, Mark Millen, talking to Dallas Eliak, and they're sitting there watching all this. Basically the parades already happened before the game happened, and it was like, okay, let's just get to work. And those two had probably the games of their careers in that 2001 final. But you guys bounced back and win 2002. Let's talk about that. And you're hoisting up the NLL championship.
My favorite part of that game was that it was mostly defense that scored in that game. It was a change because that game was in Albany, and I remember Toronto. We had maybe 6, maybe more buses of fans going down to watch the game from Toronto. So that was a pretty amazing game, and I kind of toot my own horn, but I scored the first goal in that game, so it kind of made it a lot more special for me. I think that might have been even my first NLL goal. So, and then to hoist the cup after that, I'm just sad that I only got to do it once.
Right. You move over to Philly, 2003, and that city is also another city that's made for your style of play. Blue collar town, loves the tough guys. Talk about, you've come from Toronto, now you're going into Philly, fitting in with that team. Because again, it's still just come off 2 years ago from a championship. So they're still high and ready.
Yeah. So before I was traded to Philly, I went and played in the summer in Coquitlam with Colin Doyle, Pat Coyle, Dallas Eliak, with a bunch of guys from like Groob. Can't even name them all. We had a ton of players from Toronto, and they got me to come and play in Coquitlam, and we won the Man Cup that same year. And then after that, I was shocked and was sat down at training camp and was told that I was being traded for Kevin Finneran, and I think I was 21 at the point, and I was devastated, really, because I was with the Rock, and we just won a championship, and then having to go to a new team and meet all these new people and live in a different city was scary kind of to me at that age, right? So But as soon as I got to Philly, like you said, they welcomed me with open arms, and the fans there were just crazy, just crazy. There's no other way to put it. That they're amazing. They love their lacrosse out there, and it was a good place for me to be.
Right. You move on to Bannockland, another place that's crazy, and another place that's blue collar, another place that loves their enforcers, and really, just take a look now. They're still getting 19,000 a game. It's insane. Bannockland is nuts. You get out there. It's going to lead me into somebody who's blowing up my phone while we're talking. Somebody very familiar to you. You're with Bannockland and you're doing your thing, and you have a game in Rochester, and a fan is chirping Stainhouse. And you get in his face in the glass and scare the bejesus out of him. It turns out you guys wind up playing on the bats together. It's Mike Cooper who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He's making all kinds of comments, saying you're looking great and all the rest of the stuff. So,
thanks, Mike.
Let's talk.
I don't remember that part where he was in the crowd chirping Steenhouse, but hey, that was my job. So, I mean, I did it well, right? So.
Absolutely.
I had to stick up for my boys.
Absolutely. Now, a whole different style of play with the Bandits because they're up and coming. They hadn't won since the 90s, and they're on the verge in a couple more years, and they're going to be doing it. But you're playing with Tavares. You're playing with the Kilgores, Steenhouse. Different styles of play, but still that kind of intensity. I'll talk about with that team.
Oh, well, that team was fun. I had a lot of fun with those guys. We all got together and got along really well as a group, and we played our practical jokes on each other. Steenhouse was the main part of that, but it just brought the team together well, and we kind of came together really well as a team, and I think it was 2008 we made the finals in Calgary. But just being around, there's another great lacrosse mind, John Tavares. He was like, it's crazy because a lot of defenders can't defend him, and it's because he was so smart. It was as soon as you take your eye off him, he was gone to the net. He knew exactly what to do and exactly when to do it, and it was just amazing to sit back and watch some of these guys play and to learn from Darius. And Darius was coach, and from Richie was a captain that time, I believe. So, yeah, Richie was really good to me as well. So,
yeah, probably two of my favorite guests having on the show is both having Rich and Darius on there because, first of all, it's no holds barred.
Yeah,
and secondly, there's so much knowledge in there, and they're so personable. And I get what you mean because they can be tough as nails, but also be very, very same thing as what I'm saying. Very soft spoken off the floor. Put a uniform on, and we have a whole different thing.
Time to go to work.
Even now as coaching, right? Watching them and the knowledge that they pass down. Guys who are under them, you can tell when they've had these guys as coaches because they're that much more cerebral in what they do, even in the little things.
Yeah. And that's what they harped on most was the little things. You do all the little things right, and it's all going to come together. You guys stick together as a team, and it's team first mentality with those guys, and that's my favorite way to play. Right? Is you're there for each other, and you die for each other. Really, pretty much was one of the sayings I think that Darius would say. Right? You go out there and die for each other. You battle hard and leave it all on the floor.
Right. Right. And you're talking about Tavares, and it just shows just how cerebral he is. He steps away from playing into coaching, and in his couple of years of being a head coach, what's he done? 2 Man Cups, 2 NLL championships, on his way to probably 3-3 the way we're going now. So it just shows these things aren't accidents.
No, exactly. He's just such a talent, and it shows. I mean, he was the greatest one of the greatest players ever to play lacrosse. Right? He's got the most points ever in lacrosse, and now he's turning around doing it as coach. It's pretty amazing to watch.
Yeah, and even listening to him in press conferences and just the cerebralness. Even it doesn't matter if they win or lose, and just the way he looks at the game is at a different angle than most of us would see it.
Yeah, and he's so calm, cool, and collected. It's nothing rattles him. It's so crazy. He's got ice in his veins, I guess.
Yeah. I was talking with Rod from the Halifax, the Nova Scotia Privateers, the Rod
Okay.
father.
Mm-hmm.
And another one who, if you look at him, ice in his veins, well, I'm having a heart attack over there, but you're not showing it, man. It's just you're winning a game with 0.1 second left on the clock, and it's like
Yeah.
us in the crowd are going insane. And but that kind of thing that plays down to your players, guys like you. When you start seeing the guys at the top who are level headed, that puts a calm to a team that might go other ways.
Exactly. When he's talking that calmly and smoothly, it calms everybody down, and then you start breathing and you get in the moment, and that's it.
Yeah, and everybody's back on point. You moved to Chicago, and again, I pulled, like I told you off air, I pulled this out of the archives.
I love it.
They're still around here. I love this jersey. I love my retro stuff.
Yeah.
And Batley's got you in there. He's coaching GM for the 2 years the team's there. That was, we call them the legendary days in Chicago, because that was crazy. And just doing tours out there and, driving out there and, spending 12 hours on the road to, hey, let's go catch it. Off we go. But talk about there, and of course the Sears Arena and all that, and had good crowds too for the most part. You're getting 7,000 or 8,000 a game, so it was pretty nutty in there.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to start an organization there in Chicago. I mean, some say that it might not have been the best spot for the team for it to grow, I guess, and I think that's what happened in the long run, because it was kind of out of the way of Chicago there. But fans, like you said, they showed up, and the team, the group was now like friends that I'll have friends on that team for life, right? Those guys were such great guys, and just to do it in a new organization like that was with all those guys, we had a pretty special team. I mean, I wish we could won a few more games, but it was coming. We were coming together, and eventually we were getting there. But unfortunately, the organization folded the next year, and that's how it goes sometimes, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I was going up and down the roster and looking at this, and it's like you look at the players. Chris Panos, John Harrison, Cam Woods, yourself, Rusty Kruger, Daryl Gibson. There's quite a who's who that's on there, let alone Brandon Miller and Ned. That's quite a little who's who that's going to go sell a game to Chicago.
Yeah, and we had a pretty good team. It was just we were just young, and we were just most of us were just getting on to being at our best, and yeah, it just I mean, the year that, and then they folded, and I mean, what can you do? They had an expansion draft, but they folded so late in the season that the expansion draft just was I mean, so early. Sorry, it was right before season started. Was the teams were made, and all of a sudden the team just folded.
Yeah, and then you get picked up by Minnesota, and they didn't have room for you, and
didn't have room. Didn't even have room to come out to practice or anything. So
right.
Understandable. I mean, you make your team early, and then you do with the guys what you can do, right? You're not going to go back and be like, well, no, you didn't make the team now because there's all these new guys. You know what I mean? So It was tough, but I mean, it was meant to be.
Right. Now Chicago runs up in the same breath as like Boston. Would have probably been Toronto if they stayed at the Scotiabank, of having these ridiculous arena deals and playing in other people's arenas, which is probably why when Sakevich came in as commissioner, changed the whole thinking of expansion to an MO being an NHL or an NBA team, or you own your own arena. So you're not number 5 or 6 or 7 down on the list. So you're playing Tuesday morning as opposed to getting a Saturday night game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That hurts.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about Mike Cooper, and you get together with him with the Rochester Bats. Talk about how all that came about, because that's been a pretty successful Laxney team.
Yeah. Well, Mike reached out to me and said that he's got space for me to play on his team, and I wasn't done playing lacrosse. I mean, I played senior B here and there, and some senior A a little bit after Chicago, and then down to senior B, and played a little bit out in Pine Woods. From there, I wasn't done. I still, right now, still at my age, I'm still looking to jump on a few teams here and there and play in a couple tournaments just to have fun and throw the ball around. I mean, lacrosse has given me so much in my life that I've seen, like I said before, I've seen so many places, so many new cities, so many new countries that it's taken me everywhere, and I owe everything to lacrosse. And I think I'll be playing for a long time now. Knock on wood, if my legs hold up.
Well, you look at you and you're probably in better shape now than you were when you're playing. You look like you're chiseled right now. So that's pretty testament to your work ethic.
It helps that we get a little bit of time at work to hit the gym and and to try to keep in shape. There's some incentives there. So yeah, I try to still run and hit the weights every once in a while. So it's nice that I can do that.
Right. I want to get hit a little bit about the state of the union of the league, especially now compared to when you played. How would you say that the league is different, and what do you think are more of the similarities that are still there?
Well, so back in the day, we're still trying to. I mean, still now, but back in the day, we were still trying to build the NLL. It wasn't very old, and we are trying to open it up to see what cities it would catch in, right, and what could where could it strive, lacrosse can strive in some cities, and where it wouldn't, right? So there was a few teams that it wasn't doing very very well back in the day, and it looks like now most of the cities that they're in are pulling really good crowds, and they have those TV deals, more TV. You can watch it on ESPN, on any channel on ESPN now, and that's what they need to do to get lacrosse out, because it's a great game to watch. I mean, once you go to a live game, people get hooked, right? So they just need the exposure, and through time it keeps building with like anything else, right? So I see a good future for it.
Right. How do you think you would fare in today's game?
I think I'd have to switch my game to be a goal scorer.
I still think that there's a spot for what you did now, because you got guys
Yeah,
like Rostrauser, you got guys they're around there that are still battling it out when need be.
they're there. I mean, back in the day, they didn't need there was more of the enforcer type, where nowadays it's more of enforcer slash is part of their skills, right? Where you have a Haustrauser, is a really good defender now, right? And
Mhm.
on top of being a tough guy, I guess.
But these are developed skills too, because when they came in the league, they weren't, and they've learned it along the way.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, it's something that you develop over time for sure.
Right. I had Mike and Elijah Gash were on the show on Sunday, and Elijah, of course, is as green as the grass, when it comes to box lacrosse, but athleticism and lacrosse IQ help, but also, but it, again, playing in an aggressive style fits. You can always find your way, especially in box, and be in such tight quarters. I don't know if it would fly so much in field where guys can run distances around you, but where you're confined, there's only so many places you can go. So there's still a need for that person, and nobody's going to take liberties.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly. I mean, you're going to have your goal scorers, and look at the points that most of these goal scorers are getting, over 100 goals or points in a year, right? And what's that, 18 games now? It's crazy. So if anybody were to hit one of your players that you don't like, someone's got to step in. Someone's got to send a message, right? That you can't mess around with these guys. These are the guys that are scoring all the goals, right? So I mean, yeah, it's still needed in the league. I think so. So
I do too, and I think it would be a big detriment to the game itself, because the game is such a contact sport that if you start pulling that out, you've pulled a big the heart out of the game, really.
yeah, and I mean the fans love it. as you can tell, I mean, after that Elijah Gash fight, I mean, it was posted on all over the place, right? And the exposure and you hear the fans are up more for fights than they are for some of the goals, So
Yep. Well, the only time they stand up are for goals and fights.
Exactly.
Not in that order. The All-Star game. It was there when you were playing. It's gone the way of the dodo. Do you think that they're missing an opportunity now, especially with ESPN, TSN, and all these platforms, whereas the PLL, the Rebels have capitalized totally on it, that All-Star weekend, I'm not big on the game because I really don't care to see 200 goals. But, the skills competition are still, first and foremost, if you're going to put that on your, 15 minutes of viewing.
Yeah.
Do you think they're missing the boat on this?
I'm kind of into the air about All-Star games. I mean, it's hard watching even the NHL this year, and the way they did the Four Nations this year was, I mean, that's what gets everyone talking is it's more competitive, whereas the All-Star games is just a game that guys are like. Even the Pro Bowl in football, they're just running the score up. They're not playing defense. It's kind of like just. I mean, I don't know what other way to put it, but yeah, exactly. So unless they need to make it competitive, especially if they're going to put it out to ESPN and get some viewers. It needs to be an actual competitive game, and I don't know how you can do that with getting the hits and the fights and everything else, and for people to watch and people to enjoy, and then they'll want to come back watching more, right? So
right. We came up with a thought of how about the and it should also answer the arena question. The last year's champion hosts the All-Star game and plays the All-Stars from the league. A little bit more on the line because the let's just say it's Buffalo, and they're not going to want to lose to the other stars of the league, and the other stars are going to want to knock them off their perch. And it's in a place like Banditland where you're going to get 19,000. Do you think that might actually solve a couple of the issues?
That's a good idea. That could work, actually. Come to think of it, but yeah, I mean that's one idea, and it's a great one. But they should do something. I mean, there's always been an All-Star game, so
yeah, I just think that personally, I think that they're missing an opportunity, especially now when you want to get more eyes on ESPN and more eyes on TSN to because as soon as people watch, they're hooked, and I've proved it because I've used to I'd sit in a bar and I would have a tablet and just have the game on and just watch. I wouldn't Chromecast and just have it on my tablet. And before you know it, there's a number of people looking over my shoulder at this because it's that addictive.
Yeah.
Just to take a look at the action, take a look at how quick it is, the hitting. It's addictive. So if you could get that on mainstream.
Once you get the people watching, and better yet, get people to a live game, because that's when you see the music, the dancers, the atmosphere, the fans. It's amazing to see, and I mean, now I'm part of the Bandits alumni program. I'm able to go watch some of the Bandits games, and I just love going to see the fans and see the atmosphere, because that's the best part of it, right?
Yeah,
seeing the atmosphere, the music going the whole time. It's just amazing. It's good for fans, and they just got to get to the games, and then they'll keep going back for more.
That's it. Exactly. Have you thought about the Arena Lacrosse League? Whether even if you want to play, because of course you could still do it, but even in a coaching aspect, because feeder league to the NLL, there's so many guys in there that are almost at that stage, and I love the league in the sense that it teaches guys how to become pros and stay pros. So once they get up there, not many of them are coming back. I think that's maybe in your future as a coaching or anything.
Possibly. I'm trying to do more coaching. I'm trying to get on days at work, and I do shift work now, so it's impossible to it's all over the place, so it's impossible. Like my brothers would coach their sons, and I'd go down and help them every once in a while in London. But I just can't make a commitment that big to anything yet until I get on straight days at work, and I'm able to give back to the game for sure. And I'd love to do that.
Right. Because we even came up again, us brainstorming, thinking, is that the ALL being a feeder league, we could actually make it like the AHL, where teams don't have to cut guys. They can actually keep a farm system of their picks, put their own coaches in there, teach systems. Because right now, you may be playing, get signed to Rochester for 2 games. Their star comes back. You get cut back to the Arena Lacrosse. You're coming to Toronto now, and you're going to play 2 games over there. And you're never getting a system, or you're getting mismatched. If you actually would have a farm system, and there's enough teams now, or close to it, and there's going to be more expansion, both West and East for Arena Lacrosse. You think that's do you think that that'd be an idea that could fly?
That's definitely something that should be looked into for sure, because like you said, that these some of these guys are in and out of the lineup, and then because there's some injuries and they need to get in, and then what do they do when they're not playing, right? When their star comes back or someone comes back and they get bumped out. That'd be an amazing spot for them to go to hone their skills, because these mostly are younger guys that just need some time on the floor, right, to help them and to teach them a few things. And I think that'd be a great idea for sure.
Right, because I think the ALL, at least in the East, has sent something like 30 guys that have gone up to the NLL and stayed there.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
One of the names that come to mind is Mike Triolo, another former guest, and he honed his skills there. And he did it late. He was already in his 30s when he got up there and really got his kick at the can in Saskatchewan. So it's never too late.
Now he's doing well. So yeah, I've been watching him because I played on the bats with him a year as well. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great to watch these guys, especially as they're developing, and here they go up there to the show and are able to stay.
Yeah,
and fulfillment. That's what it's
sometimes all they need is a little confidence too, right? And the AAL could give that to them, right? So yeah, for sure. And especially if the NLL keeps growing, and they're definitely going to need this. And they play more than 18 games in a season. They will need. It'd be a perfect feeder league for sure.
Yeah, and just to have your own team that you're affiliated with, where you actually, the biggest shame is you get drafted. And if you're drafted any later than the 3rd round, thanks. You can say you were drafted.
Yeah.
But if you actually have a place to develop and still part of the team and still have something to strive for, well, then the stick doesn't go in the closet, right? And you actually have a goal. So to me, it's a great way to grow the game, keep people involved in the game, get the community involved in the game, because now each one of these teams have really an affiliation with the NLL.
Yeah.
All around.
And then expansion makes expansion so much easier everywhere. And some of these expansion teams that usually come in aren't very good, right? But if they're pulling these players from the AAL, and is that what it is?
ALL, yeah.
ALL. They're pulling some of the players from there, and they're ready to go. It's like they're giving them a shot, right? So even the teams will be a little better. And I think it's a great idea.
For succeeding, right? Lacrosse in the Olympics. They're going in with 6s. You have any thoughts on this 6s idea? Because I've gotten guys on both sides of this. So
6s would be field lacrosse, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a mix. It's on a field, but it's kind of putting a box idea into a 6s, into a field format.
It's a good start. I'm excited to actually see how it works out, and I'm definitely going to be watching every game. But yeah, I don't know how it's going to work out. We'll see. I haven't really seen any of the rules yet or any of that. But like you said, it's going to be a little bit of box, a little bit of field. So it'll be exciting. Hopefully, like what nets are they using? Are they using the
They're using they're using the 6x6 nets, but they're using field style goalies, so they're getting just absolutely peppered, But
wow.
I thought that maybe they should use the box nets.
Yeah.
But I think it was Johnny Meridian that mentioned it. Well, these poor goalies are just going to get absolutely lambasted with these shots. At least with a 6x6 net, they're going around them, and But and then of course there's no face off, right? You fish it out and you keep going. So if you spend a second, admiring your goal, you're now chasing the ball up the field. So
there's no sellies. No celebrations.
No, you can celebrate at halftime.
Soccer celebrations.
Yeah, that's not going to happen in any of that. But and you look at the skill level. I would say that it gives places like Six Nations a real opportunity to win gold in this because they're fast, they're accurate, and they can maneuver in these kind of situations with a little bit bigger area to get creative. Um, Teams like Japan, I had a bunch of the nationals on, and with the exception of the face-off guy, he wasn't too happy about it because he's out of work.
No, thanks,
No place for you. You can cheer, but the rest of them, again, all homegrown, very very fast, and are able to assimilate to this, and everybody's starting at the same point because we got a new branch of the game.
Yeah, could make it a lot better competition for sure for teams like you said, like Japan, and their top 6 players is yeah, it'll be fun to watch for sure. It'll be fun to see how they match up against the Canadians and the Americans and the Haudenosaunee.
Yeah, Haudenosaunee.
Haudenosaunee, yeah, exactly.
I find it interesting because I had the president of World Lacrosse on, and DeMarco, and he was talking about the reason they went with 6s and not one form or the other is that for the Olympics, they can only carry 10,000 people for everything, every single event. So if you're going to want to be in there, there's no way you can carry a 24-man roster, coaches, trainers, this, that, the other, and do that by 10 teams because how many spots are you taking?
Yeah, that's true.
So by keeping it as 6s, you can keep it down to a 12 or 14-man roster, a couple of coaches and things like that, and it cuts it in half. And that's the only way that the Olympic Committee would look at it. So
well, that makes sense then if that's the way they're doing it for sure. Yeah,
right.
It'll be exciting. Like they said, it's nice to have lacrosse in the Olympics and for it to be shown on a bigger scale for sure. So it'll be nice to watch for sure, and in any way.
Yeah, and my thing is here, if we're on floor 2 or 3 now, because we're definitely not on ground floor anymore. Mm-hmm. But if we're on floor 2 or 3, and now you get 280 more countries watching, well, there it goes.
Yeah.
And make sure that you have everything. That's what these couple of years are there for. Make sure all your T's are crossed, I's are dotted. Make sure your training schedule, make sure everything is in place so that when this happens, our first impressions are lasting ones.
Yeah.
And then you can ride the wave and you have the support group and the foundation built. Because all the guys who are talking about, well, that's not traditional. Well, we don't have 400 guys in a field running either trying to shoot at things in trees. So, that's traditional, isn't it? So,
yeah, really.
Once we get them to watch, we can teach them tradition.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be exciting to watch for sure. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, man. Thanks for coming on. I love talking and stuff. I love talking all the old stuff, and I love talking with what's going on and things like that. What's upcoming for Drew Candid? What's in the future?
I just some more lacrosse. Hopefully, I'll do some coaching. I'll be watching my nephews play. Hopefully, junior A against each other this year, and just working and hopefully see you around as well. I mean, this was amazing. I'm so happy you had me on, and I enjoy your shows. I mean, it's building lacrosse, like we said, and that's amazing.
I appreciate that. You'll definitely see me around because I'm doing media for Ontario series. I'm doing media for major series, and I'll be in junior A things too because man, I love junior A. That's to me that's the cream of the crop. That's just fantastic lacrosse all time. So I'll definitely between Mimico and Brampton, I'll be a lot of miles on the car.
Awesome. We'll see you then for sure. Then
absolutely. Thank you again. I wish you all the best. Please, I hope I can get you back on. We can talk a little bit more at some point.
For sure, I can tell some more stories. So that was amazing. Thank you very much for having me.
For Drew Candid, I'm Gary Groob. This is NLL Lacrosse Talk. Next week, we're actually taking a break because I will be in Prague for the Rebeski tournament. But we'll be back 2 weeks from now. And please join us then, 4 p.m. every Thursday. And every now and again, we move it a little around just to keep you on your toes. Until then, keep your sticks high, keep your spirits higher, and we'll see you then. Take care, everybody.